You know, the Lakers' record isn't even that bad. Sure, they're struggling to stay in the playoff race, and both LeBron and AD have missed significant time due to injuries, but for the Lakers, it's always been championship or bust. With a star-studded roster like this, the acquisition of Russell Westbrook, the expectations coming in were much higher than the previous year. That's why their struggles have been a marquee headline throughout the season. This team does not look like a championship contender. But who's truly to blame? Is it Westbrook, who's gotten by far the most criticism out of any other player? But what about the role players? Or heck, even LeBron has seen his fair share of criticism, on defense especially. Reportedly, Frank Vogel is also on the hot seat. How's it going, folks? My name's Andy, and today, let's dissect the Lakers' struggles. They don't look good from the eye test, but what about the actual numbers? Anyway, let's get started. Also, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe. If you like the content, drop a sub or a like, and thank you so much for the support. The acquisition of Westbrook was met with skeptics right off the bat. We heard the questions: can he really play with LeBron? Isn't he just washed up now? Will the entire Lakers offense change and cater to his style of play? I even made a video about it a while back when the trade initially happened. Not only that, but if you look at the players the Wizards got back, they've all been solid contributors to their team. Heck, they got a similar record to the Lakers now. I don't think you expected that. So, who really won that trade? There's this saying that stuck with Westbrook throughout his entire career: "You don't deserve me at my best, Brook, if you can't handle me at my worst, Brook." Implying he's arguably the most inconsistent superstar of the past decade. There are times when he looks like an absolute monster. Other times, he's shooting his team out of a game, turning the ball over like crazy, or chasing that last assist or rebound for a triple-double. Unfortunately, nowadays, it's more common to see the latter, to see poor performances from him rather than great ones. This is noticeable in his on-off metrics. As of this point in the season, with over 1,600 minutes of Westbrook on the court, the Lakers have an average net rating of -2.5. Compared to when Westbrook's off the court, the Lakers are +1.49. The biggest impact on this difference has to do with the three-point shot. Westbrook himself has not been a good three-point shooter in years, but even when he's on the court, the entire team's three-point percent is also much lower. If this shows that he's not making his teammates shoot better either. There's a long list of metrics that show Westbrook is actively hurting the team. For example, his box plus minus is at -1.1, the lowest of his entire career and the only time he's been a negative since his rookie season. His win shares per 48 minutes is also the worst it's been since his rookie season. His turnover rate of 18.3% is the worst of his entire career. Currently this season, that's the 10th worst turnover rate in the league among all players. His true shooting percentage is 11th on his own team. He's never been the most efficient scorer, but this is atrocious. There's no shortage of numbers that show Westbrook is having a nightmare of a season, not just by his standards, but across the entire league. This culminated in a game on January 19th against the Pacers, when Westbrook got benched for the last 4 minutes and the Lakers went on to lose. He was furious, and in the post-game interview, he took a shot at Frank Vogel. Quote, "I think the communication of what Vogel wants and how he wants it kind of changes because guys have been in and out of the lineup. Everybody is trying to figure out what to do and how to do it." Then, Vogel was asked why did he bench Westbrook. He responded with a simple, succinct answer: "Playing the guys I thought would win the game." Oof. It had to be said, folks. This brings us to the next topic. There's been conflicting reports about whether or not the Lakers want to fire Frank Vogel. It's been back and forth, and it's kinda weird, cause this is the same guy who coached them to the championship a few years ago. Now all of a sudden you want to fire him? I don't know about that. Also, the main criticism is towards his usage of Westbrook, and maybe his rotations, but not really about his game plan. However, after that debacle on January 19th, the fans and media have supported Vogel's decision because frankly, Westbrook was playing so bad that he needed to be benched. The dude was 5 for 17 from the field. According to a report, quote, long before Russell Westbrook was benched down the stretch of Wednesday's 111-104 loss to the Indiana Pacers, Los Angeles Lakers coach Frank Vogel was given assurances that the organization would support him in taking a hard line while coaching the star, sources told ESPN. Lakers management has told the coaching staff to coach Westbrook as the coaches see fit, even if that means pulling him from a game. When it comes to coaching Westbrook, this has been the dilemma ever since he came into the league. I feel like some coaches are just scared to bench him. They're scared to keep his ego in check. They're scared to get fired. Westbrook, despite his flaws, is still one of the most enthusiastic, emotional, heart-on-his-sleeve players the NBA has ever seen. Instead of putting him on a leash, the coaches have let him roam free on every team he's been on, for better or worse. This time on the Lakers, he's doing more harm than good, and they know that. Vogel's job in LA is almost strictly based on how he handles Westbrook's minutes. He knows that Westbrook is holding them back, but doesn't want to rock the boat. Ultimately, that might be his downfall. Aside from LeBron, Davis, and Westbrook, the player who averages the 4th most minutes per game on this team is Talen Horton-Tucker. He was alright as a sub-20-minute player in previous seasons, but now he's not good enough to be getting 27 minutes a game, especially on a playoff team. A 37-year-old Melo isn't too far behind, also playing nearly 27 minutes a game, though he's been having a decent shooting season, but that's about it. Malik Monk, who signed a perplexing $1.7 million deal just to play in LA, despite getting way better offers. He's producing better than his contract, but he's like the only role player who provides that extra boost this team needs. Overall, they're just missing that spark compared to the previous rosters. Back then, they had Alex Caruso, Montrezl Harrell, Kyle Kuzma. They provided a huge jolt off the bench. They got their flaws, but just their pure energy and hustle were necessary, as the team really needed that. Without them, they've lost their mojo, they've lost that extra firepower. The biggest drop-off from the previous season is defense. In 2020, they were 3rd, in 2021, they were 1st, and now they're 16th, a result of having slower players who still aren't used to executing their game plan, who sometimes look lost on defense. Turnovers have been a huge cause as well. The Lakers are 4th worst in the league with 15 turnovers a game. Those 15 turnovers lead to, on average, 17 points a game for the other team, the 7th most allowed points off turnovers in the NBA. Opponents are getting way too many easy buckets, just due to careless passes, or fumbling it, or players just being in wrong spots. The Lakers also give up the 5th most points in the paint, as opponents score 49 points per game from that area. I'm sure Anthony Davis's absence has a lot to do with this. They're missing their most prominent front-court defender. Injuries in general have been a huge hindrance. It's been that way for the past 2 years, actually. Whether it's LeBron being out, or Davis, or Trevor Ariza, or any other key role player. It leads to a severe lack of consistency, especially since their roster is much different this year compared to last. Then you have guys like Avery Bradley just getting by on reputation, but realistically, he's a shell of his former self. Considering that defense has been their bread and butter for the last few seasons, this sudden drop-off was devastating for their hopes of winning. It's not like their problems will be fixed once Davis returns either. Channing Frye observed something very interesting on NBA TV about the Lakers' defensive woes after a loss in January. It's hard to be that bad. They should have been beaten by 50. So undisciplined, double teaming for no reason, not rotating, guys not communicating. I've seen some bad basketball. This is probably one of the worst games I've seen from a team that has good players on it. This is a team led by experienced veterans, coached by an experienced defensive-minded coach. It's not even the lack of skill or guidance that's holding them back, it's a clear lack of effort, and just pure absent-mindedness. Now, I'm not saying that LeBron is the reason for the Lakers' struggles, quite the opposite, in fact. If LeBron was out the entire season and this team was led by Westbrook, they'd be at the bottom of the standings. However, this might be the first time we've ever heard LeBron publicly admit that they've got to do better. He put the burden on himself to be better, even though he's been tearing it up. Bron has not averaged 29 points a game since his first stint in Cleveland. As always, in the midst of uncertainty, whether it's in Cleveland, Miami, or LA, he always plays at his very best, even at 37 years old. Anyway, that's all folks. Those are the main reasons for the Lakers' struggles. It's been a roller coaster of a season, but I hope they can get it together and give the top dogs of the West a challenge. They definitely have the talent, but got some glaring holes they need to cover up. Let me know your thoughts on where you think the Lakers will finish come playoff time. A top 4 seed is still not out of the question. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed the video, and of course, as always, I'll see you next time. Peace.